very clearly to be watchful, as he says, that it's like, but understand this, if the owner of the house had known in what part of the night the thief was coming, he would have stayed awake and would not have let his house be broken into. Therefore, you also must be ready. Be ready. For the Son of Man is coming at an unexpected hour. So what is the takeaway for you hearing these examples? Some of us can read these things and actually feel afraid. You could feel afraid at the second coming of Jesus, the Son of Man, as it says here in Matthew. But if you're not afraid, what are you? Hopefully you are ready. Is the choice either to be afraid or ready, or can fear drive the readiness in an appropriate way? When I first came to a place in life that was like my born-again moment, where I became aware of God in a way that I wasn't before. Now, in most of our culture, we tend to see things as when I got saved, right? Now, a lot of you don't see it that way because you were baptized at birth, right? You know, just months after birth, and you've always been in the church. And there's something really healthy about seeing that your relationship with God has been forever. There was no turning point. But when I got saved, I saw it then as a turning point. And I talk about that because what drove for me getting ready? What drove that thing? And there is this appearance of fear. There is something of fear that was involved in it, if you will. It was sort of like I could recognize that there was I talked about it for so many years as being an understanding of what hell was, because I heard a sermon on hell. And I knew that if I didn't change, or if I didn't pray to God, I knew that I was going to go there. Or maybe if I look back, I would actually see that it was easy to describe it as being fear-based, but really what I was doing is acting out of hope. Acting in response to God's love. It's easy to describe someone who turns their life around as being because they were afraid of all the bad things in life. But really, what is it that actually changes the way that we behave and the way that we are? Will fear change you in a good way? I look at this and I wonder, is Jesus trying to make you afraid? Are you afraid? When you are a believer, probably not. Why? Because you are readying yourself, right? Now, I do know the believers who, it's almost like their Christian life, it lives, all of their Christian life lives in the book of Revelation. Everything is in the book of Revelation and the second coming, and everything is about that. And it's easy to sort of live in the excitement of that thing and talk to everybody about the second coming because it's imminent and it's something that people need to be afraid of. There's a certain emotional appeal to that because it makes you feel a certain way. It makes you feel kind of good, very alive, right? Is Jesus one of those? Is he the original one? Is he driving us to even proclaim to live in fear? would say that there might be a touch of the reality of fear mixed into this for sure. How do you talk about a coming flood and not be somehow touched by the awful reality? And the relationship with fear there is so close, isn't it? Surely Noah would have had a little bit of fear. But what about hope? Do you think Noah would have felt empowered by the message, by the gift of foresight? Do you think that that hope would have driven him? Hope is a very powerful tool to demonstrate God's love to the world. As we think of what hope is, its relationship with light is so close. Because hope speaks to other people in a way that fear never will. Hope is inspiring. Have you ever been inspired by fear? Not really. Being inspired is something that causes us to change and change over and over and over and over again. Fear is like this one-time thing that sort of starts to deteriorate. But understand this, if the owner of the house had known in what part of the night the thief was coming, he would have stayed awake. Now this makes us think of somebody being in fear. But really, having the foreknowledge makes us prepared. Why? And remember that this is an illustration of Jesus, right? Because we have hope. For us, keeping awake is like keeping the light on. How many of you guys can finish this sentence? Are you with me? Finish this sentence. I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6 and... Thank you very much. And we'll leave the light on for you. That was actually an ad lib. And I haven't seen a Motel 6 commercial or heard a Motel 6 commercial for a long time. But for whatever reason, that'll stick with you, won't it? There is light in hope. There is hope in light. It doesn't have to be a fear-driven Christianity that you live, but a hope-filled one. We'll leave the light on for you. How many of you guys know how far the closest star to us is? Any star people out here? To be quite honest with you, I love stargazing, but I still had to look it up. And then I remembered, oh yeah, got it. So it's not quite 5 light years away. I think it's Proxima Centauri. And a light year is something like almost 6 trillion miles. So that's pretty insane. It's really far away. And that little pinpoint of light travels that entire distance. And I say that because when we choose to live with hope and we sort of reflect and shine God's light, it has a great deep reach. The flood comes and people have hope. The thief comes That's not so great, but you can be ready. You might even find yourself working alone. You could see that in the opposite way too and think that Jesus just took somebody. That's okay too. But I'm going to ask you, what are you going to do with the light that you have? What will you do with that light? Where would you like Christ's light to shine in you? There's something about being ready that says, get the lights on. Some of the longest nights ever that I've ever had in my life have been out camping, and I couldn't wait for the sun to come up. And when the sun came up, oh, that's the best thing ever. Let's keep going. Let that light shine. But where would you like Christ's light to shine for you? Where is that dark night within your life? What is the thing that plagues you? Where is it that you have fear that's settled in? Because it can become hope. It's not always a magic solution, but I know that Christ's light brings hope. Where is it that we have those places in our life that are closed off? The dark rooms. Those are the places that aren't ready. And if we're going to be watchful, we have to keep the lights on. We have to let the light shine even into the darkest places. So where would you like Christ's light to shine? To give you hope so that you're ready when the flood comes. When you find yourself working alone, or when there's a thief that's going to come and try to take things from you. As much of a sermon as this is from the book of Matthew, this is more like a prayer for me. Let it be a prayer for you. God, help me to recognize that I have dark places in myself that I need to pull back the curtains on, that I need to let you shine into. And sometimes we even keep ourselves from being reflectors for who God is and shining His light to others. As much as we want to talk about what evangelism is, trying to help people understand that they're going to hell, it can be quite the opposite of that. It can be all about projecting to people that they can know that they have hope in God. And that's a very subtle but very different message. We can be ready and filled with hope. I'll say it again. At the sake of that crazy repetition that we all hate, where would you like Christ to shine in your life? And that's our prayer. Lord, help us to not just discover them, but to pull back the curtains, to do whatever we can within ourselves to make it so that all of ourselves, all of our being is ready. Because we want to be even more filled with the hope that is in God. Amen.